Remember, I'm going to the commission. A lot is coming. It
is the ultimate twist in a saga already overflowing with Hollywood-style drama. Just hours after completely exploding on the witness stand at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, controversial Northwest businessman and self-proclaimed political fixer Brown Mogotsi is officially behind bars.
Sorry, are you asserting a privilege against self-incrimination not to answer that question?
Yes, that's correct. That's the answer I'm going to give to all the questions, by the way.
Well, we'll still go through the questions one by one.
Tonight, the SAP's national spokesperson, Madlanga Mate, confirmed that the multidisciplinary team executed a J50 warrant, arresting Mogotsi for defeating the ends of justice. And you might ask yourself, what is the charge? The charge is allegedly staging a fake assassination attempt on his life in Vosloorus. And the twist gets darker. Police have already linked the firearm used in that fake hit on another real-world violent crimes, including unaliving.
Spoke about this earlier on at the Madlanga Commission that possibly an arrest could be on the card, because you could see by the way he was treading, he was in danger.
Indeed, this morning right here on ENCA we revealed that that particular investigation has been completed. We know that our sources are saying us that police might even have footage showing how this particular event was staged, and now we have our sources even confirming that it appears the firearm that was used has now been linked to a number of other crimes, including murder and attempted murder. So this is a very serious charge. For now, the charge against Mogotsi will be defeating the ends of justice. He will appear in court on Monday. And again, we are told that the special multidisciplinary team followed him right from the Madlanga Commission where he was testifying. We were done there, Pule, at 6 o'clock. And we are told that they followed him from there. They drove past the prison in Pretoria until this particular spot, the stretch of road between Pretoria and Johannesburg, just past Midrand, and this is where they took him down.
How did a man who claimed to be a top-level crime intelligence operative, a man who threw accusations at the CIA, the Zulu King, and the top brass of SAPS, end up in handcuffs for faking his own assassination? Today we'll pull back the curtains on the final chaotic collapse of Brown Mogotsi.
You set out in paragraph 15.
Thank you, Commissioners. During the period from 1993 to the early part of 1995, I was in Countries operative, but in its self-defense unit, which operated within South Africa, and had its own objective in gathering of intelligence. I gained a lot of experience in the clandestine gathering of intelligence and the practices of counterintelligence. I then became and I was appointed an official informant for the South African Police Service in 1999. During 2009, I was registered and thereafter acted as an agent for crime intelligence in South African Police Service.
To understand his arrest, we have to look at the absolute disaster that was his appearance at the Madlanga Commission earlier today. Mogotsi has been darking the commission for weeks, offering sick notes and making what Parliament described as ridiculous demands for private security.
We've reached a stage where we are getting quite a few of these medical certificates, and this is quite bothersome. It impacts negatively on the Commission's scheduling.
So we are very clear as a committee that we need to have Brown Mogotsi here. He'll be subpoenaed as a matter of urgency, because we've seen that the likes of Paulo Sullivan is undermining this committee. But indeed, the committee will subpoena Brown Mogotsi.
When we finally show up, his strategy was clear: survival by disruption. Mogotsi launched a desperate, aggressive application demanding that Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Matthew Choskasen recuse himself, alleging bias. But the chairperson, Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga, didn't bite.
The application is dismissed. Reasons will be given during the course of next week.
After Right after lunchtime, Madlanga swiftly dismissed the application, forcing Mogotsi right back into the hot seat. What follows was an embarrassing spectacle.
He met with you and General Sabia in Bryanston well before January the 8th, 2025. Is that correct?
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
Let's proceed. When you were at Parliament, you withdrew your allegations against General Mkhwanazi and King Misisulu, and you apologized for casting aspersions on them. Can we then accept that from your perspective, the Commission doesn't have to pursue those allegations further?
Like I said, every question I will respond, Chair. Indeed, in Parliament I said so, but I do not want to incriminate myself, Chair.
Let's move on to your status as an agent or an informant. Says that he was aware that you were being run as an informant. He does confirm that you were being run as an informant. He, however, was emphatic that you were never an agent, only an informant. Do you want to comment on that?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
Facing Chaskason's sharp line of questioning regarding his ties to suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia and alleged crime kingpin Ket Matlala, Mogotsi completely shut down. I am not going to respond. I will not incriminate myself.
I'm not going to incriminate myself.
And that person also testified that you and he were homeboys from Soweto and knew each other outside SAP's work. What is your response to that?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
Now, in your statement, you say that your handler was Warrant Officer Mabizela. Do you stand by that statement? There are 6 different references in your statement to Warrant Officer Mabizela as your handler.
Yes, Mabizela, Mabuza. I understand it. I don't want to incriminate myself.
Sorry, you said Mabizela, Mabuza.
I don't want to incriminate myself.
He refused to answer even the most basic, non-incriminating questions. It was completely U-turned from November last year when Mogotsi couldn't stop talking. Remember, this is the same man who stood before the country and spun a cinematic tale of a global geopolitical conspiracy. He claimed KZN Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and King Misisulu Kazwelithini were CIA assets protecting Israel coal mining interest in the Richards Bay.
That Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi was recruited by the Central Intelligence Agency, the American one, and he actively worked for them.
In your statement, I will read exactly what you say when you introduce this subject of recruitment. You say, I obtained information from one of my sources that King Misisulu and Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi were recruited by and actively worked for and with the American Central Intelligence Agency, in brackets CIA. Relayed to us by you, this information is hearsay, and relayed to you by your source, it is hearsay. So it is hearsay upon hearsay or double hearsay. Do you agree?
I do not agree, commissioners.
But today, under oath, the house of cards fell. Mogotsi was forced to issue a humiliating retraction, admitting he had already apologized to General Mkhwanazi. He confessed that his blockbuster allegations were built entirely on unverified hearsay. No facts, no evidence, just wild fabrication.
Yes, as I do so, I retract the statement of both General Mkhwanazi and King Misisulu.
And this isn't his first brush with fabrication. The NPA has already been circling Mogotsi, requesting more than 10 years past criminal dockets from the Northwest Police, ranging from assault to fraud, withdrawal of an unaliving case that happened in 2011.
How many cases have been dropped under your name?
I cannot remember.
Have you been charged and have cases dropped?
Yes,
How many?
and many times.
Many times. And what were those cases about?
The assault, driving, or not driving, reckless driving, fraud. There are many. I cannot. Perhaps if we had the CP69 printed,
You will have those.
Yeah.
Is there a murder case that has been dropped on your cases?
Yes, that's correct.
What happened?
It was dropped. The state must.
What happened? Why did they say you murdered somebody?
It happened.
You murdered somebody?
Yes.
Why?
I mean, isn't that personal?
Murder, personal.
No. To say why?
Maybe that's what I murdered.
No.
Personal.
If
Advocate Tiscosin had already exposed Mogotsi as a man willing to lie under oath for the purposes of his work, but nothing prepared South Africa for what the police uncovered next.
Or this cash. Or this cash they did shooting. I can't see anything that says to me. Vale, gonna shoot. I'm just shooting with this cash. What is shooting? There's no one. Seems as if there's no plan. Yeah.
While Mogotsi was busy crying foul at the commission, claiming his life was in imminent danger, and demanding state-funded security behind the scene, SAP's crime intelligence and forensic teams were quietly doing actual work. Mogotsi had reported a terrifying assassination attempt on his life in Vosloorus. He used this alleged hit to justify his paranoias, his virtual testimony demands, and his defiance of the Madlanga Commission.
there are three things that usually happens. One of them, it is the reason, commissioners, after receiving the notice to appear before the commission, when I approached my counsel, the advice was there is no need to come here. I am not obliged to say anything here. Commissioners, my intention, I wanted to help this commission. That's why I'm here. And I'm raising this because I'm going to touch on very, very critical matters, which will also affect me. And I also need the commission to note, I'm coming here at my own cost. I'm paying my protection. I believe Mr. Chattelson and the rest, I've pushed my legal team to engage them, saying, after this commission, I may need protection. And I even said, I was very much disturbed when my life was attempted, in Vosloorus. Before I could even give a statement, because people thought I'm a Superman, I'm trying to lie that I was moving like this inside, in the riddle of bullets, whereas by luck, I don't know what happened. It was only one shot because those people followed me for so long. I thought they could not find me. When they saw my car, they fired a shot. I managed to drive because they were driving on a speed 10 left on that particular street. Fortunately, they passed to go and make a U-turn. That's when I ran for my life. But before I could even give the statement, they were saying, hey, this may be a staged assassination, this, and that's what made me very worried. It was presented as if after that incident, I will say, I don't want to come here. I wanted to come here. Now, here are the things in the crime intelligence.
But tonight, the breakthrough dropped. Preliminary forensic investigation revealed the truth. The assassination attempt was completely staged. According to the police, the firearms used to shoot up Mogotsi's vehicle or stage the scene didn't just appear out of nowhere. Ballistics testing has linked this exact weapon to other active, serious and violent crimes, including cases of unalivings and attempted unalivings. Think about the sheer audacity.
Evening, it was just about at 5:30 in the afternoon when we heard that we got tipped off by some of our sources that Brown Mogotsi would be arrested as soon as he leaves the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. We actually had a couple of calls that we had to make, and we were notified that there was crime intelligence members who, of course, circulating the venue as well, and they were monitoring the proceedings as they unfold, and they would allow Mogotsi to leave the venue before they could nab him.
An investigative witness claiming to expose institutional corruption allegedly used a dirty syndicate-linked firearm to fake an attack on himself to stall a judicial inquiry. Ooh, he's making me boil and to laugh at the same time. But listen, it gets worse because whistleblowers were at the scene and they said a contrary different story and exposed him for lying.
Brown Mogotsi escaped the alleged attack without injury, and no blood was found inside his vehicle. The bullet-riddled car, however, was not as lucky. Police have opened a case of attempted murder, but say they haven't ruled out other possibilities.
If indeed we do find out that it was staged, but we are not there yet. We have not made that determination. Remember, we are still investigating. But if indeed it was staged, then we'd have to add a charge of defeating the ends of justice. So we are hoping it was not staged and that this is genuine and that there was an actual attempt on his life.
And eyewitnesses are offering a very different version of what unfolded, claiming Mogotsi may have fired the shots himself.
Umnikazi wemoto uyadubula imoto yakhe. Yona le red ise police station manje. Yiyo le yona le. Ifike yama lapha. Akusana enye imoto ifike yama. Yiyo iwan. Problem ukuthi mayenzeka bekungaziwa ukuthi uye simaze after masilili naye la ukuthi uBrown Mogotsi.
He said there's a guy who's following him from Spruitview BP garage. Then I told him, can I call the police? He said, no, don't call the police because those police, I'm wanted by the police. I said, who may I call? Whom may I call? He said, no, don't call the police.
Now, questions remain. Was this truly an attempt to silence the corruption-accused businessman or a staged scene to garner public sympathy?
What makes the matters worse is that there was even a lady that was terrified about this process and suffered a lot of trauma and damage because of this attempt assassination that Brown Mogotsi called it.
So to you, did it look like a situation where anybody had been following you?
No.
Following him?
No, there was no one who followed him because the lady who was next to him when he's busy shooting, even now she's traumatized.
Let that sink in. Invoking his right to silence today, Mogotsi thought he was dodging a perjury charge. Instead, he was walking straight into a statutory offense under the Commissions Act for obstructing an inquiry, and worse, a jail cell for fabricating a crime. From a self-styled political mastermind and a contact agent to a cornered suspect, Brown Mogotsi's web of deception finally ran out of thread.
He further stated that Suleiman had implicated me and that I should find a way to defend myself. He expressed his belief that Suleiman was lying, that Suleiman had thrown me under the bus, and that he wanted me to do the same to Suleiman.
I will not engage you on get me anything against Suleiman, and I will help you because my colleague Commissioner Baloyi has already engaged you on that. I just want to take you to page 253 of the record. Now, this is, you'll see the text by the chief evidence leader. It's written to the two investigators that I referred to earlier.
Yes, Chair.
And the chief investigator greets them and then says, Mogotsi has been calling me non-stop. That again emphasizes the point I made with you, that the person who was really seeking out the other was Mr. Mogotsi and not the other way around. Mogotsi has been calling me non-stop since Karim started giving evidence and threw him under the bus. So the chief evidence leader has no qualms about saying that. That's his assessment of the evidence. What we will make of it is something else, of course, but that's his assessment of the evidence, and no qualms at all about saying this. He wants to give us dirt on Karim and ostensibly wants to tell us what he knows about Matlala's contract. I've arranged to see him tomorrow at 10. If you are available, please join me. All innocent, so far as I read this. And of course, the 10 o'clock meeting is a meeting that did not materialize. Mr. Mogotsi did not show up. And after contact was revived, an arrangement was again made, as Commissioner Baloyi said, for a meeting at 2 p.m. of the same day. That too did not materialize. Nothing negative at all in any of these. You may comment if you want to.
Chair, my comment will be, I concede with what the chairman says.
On Monday, he will stand before the Johannesburg Magistrates Court, not as a protected whistleblower, but as an accused facing the full might of the criminal justice he tried to play.
To go through his evidence, because again, Commissioners, you may recall that Mr. Mogotsi was due to appear before the Commission on the 13th of March. He was no longer represented. Therefore, Mr. Chaskelson needed to meet with him in order to make sure that there was preparation for that evidence on the 13th of March. It's entirely appropriate that Mr. Chaskelson did so. So the continued allegations that, well, he was trying to meet me, really is neither here nor there. There's simply nothing wrong with Mr. Chaskelson making those efforts. But Mr. Mogotsi doesn't show up to the meeting at 10 o'clock, and he doesn't give any indication that he's not going to show up. So then when Mr. Chaskelson calls him, the call is again very short if one has a look at the record, and it's to inquire about his whereabouts. They then agree that they'll meet at 2 o'clock. And they set an appointment for 2 o'clock, and again, Mr. Mogotsi doesn't show up. And again, Mr. Mogotsi doesn't answer his phone, and he doesn't explain why he didn't show up. He doesn't give an indication. In the meantime, we've had Mr. Chaskelson and the investigators waiting around for this appointment. And that's what Mr. Chaskelson explains when he says what he meant by, you can't mess me around. That's what he says, is you can't mess me around. And he explains that what he's referring to is that Mr. Mogotsi's missing appointments, was continually missing these appointments and disrupting the schedules of the evidence leader and the investigators.
We saw that even the handler, because he had a testimony in camera that we couldn't see, but we got bits of it, that the handler disputed that this man was some agent. He was just an informant. He was just there to inform them, but he formalized it and lied to the commission, and today he contravened the commission's act.
Colonel states this section is responsible for registration of all undercover operations and deployment of undercover agents, either discharged or non-discharged agents for head office in 9 provinces. And then he says Mr. Brown Mogotsi with identity number, and he gives you identity number, has never been in our program as an undercover agent. there are no records that indicate that Mr. Mogotsi was ever an agent. In our manual database and a computer system, his name does not appear as a person that was ever an undercover agent. As the Undercover Operations and Agent Support Section, we provide operational support functions and administer all agent files for members of the South African Police Service. The management and administration of all undercover agents, regardless of the division, component, or province where a person is placed, is the responsibility of this office. Undercover agents are members of the South African Police Service. Mr. Brown Mogotsi was never employed, enlisted in the South African Police Service. His name does not reflect on the record systems of the South African Police Service. I therefore deny that Mr. Brown Mogotsi was ever an undercover agent of the South African Police Service. So, the person charged with maintaining all of the records of undercover agents in the South African Police Service Criminal Intelligence Division denies that you were ever an undercover agent. Do you have a response to that?
I responded in Parliament. This person only got appointed in 2024. I know how he got appointed. I know where he used to work. He can never know me.
There is more charges, additional charges. The fate that befell Nkosi is the same fate that's going to befall Brown Mogotsi. You put them inside, then you add more charges, and that's what's going to happen with Brown Mogotsi. And I think this case is going to be stalled up until the Madlanga Commission report is out, so that by the time this case is heard for formal bail application, the charge of perjury is added, because I'm sure that the interim report is going to state that Brown Mogotsi should be charged of perjury. And the attitude he gave to the commission today made them to even get to that conclusion even easier. Voila! It was so easy for them to get to that. And I think even those cases of unalivings, they're all going to be revived, with all these witnesses being revived and actually testifying again against him. He's just dug a very deep hole of his end. What do you think was Brown Mogotsi's ultimate goal with his fake hit? Please drop your thought in the comment section. Let me hear what you think about the arrest of Brown Mogotsi. Otherwise, me, myself, and I will see you guys on my next upload. Bye.
A gentleman send me a message. Mr. Brown sent me a WhatsApp message, and he said on the message, I can show you the message because I have it with me.
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.